Peace and love, everybody. This is Ayanna the Model back with another episode of Sex Talk with Hope Giselle. We were supposed to do this last week. We had some difficulties, so we are back again this week with Sex Talk. And we are ready to start. Hope Giselle just pops on. Welcome, everyone. Peace. I just clicked for her to join.
All right. Okay, all right. Hold on, I'm
I'm
trying to
like,
get
I
my
hear her
life
voice. I
together.
don't
So y'all
see
get
her.
halfway. Yeah, it's me. I'm sorry, y'all. I am finishing and completing a road trip, but I refuse to let my girl down again. And so I am here on the road, and I'm super excited about this conversation. I've been excited about this conversation all week, so let's
Yes,
jump into
ma'am.
it.
Thank you for joining. For those who don't know, Hope and I have a long-standing history. She's been my best friend since what? Freshman year, sophomore year of high
Girl.
school. Freshman year
Freshman
of
year, I
high
was gonna say
school,
freshman,
Miami,
sophomore year, high school.
Florida, two Miami girls, city girls, if you will, just living our life. And it's just so nice to see how much she's progressed, to see how much she's grown, and all the things that she's doing with her life. And we are just two big fans of each other, and it's just nice to rekindle our relationship, get back to being where we were, get back into each other's lives as heavily as we used to be, and to really like start our adult path on a good tip. And I just love that for us. Period.
Uh,
So for
yeah,
those who don't
period.
know, let the people know who you are, briefly what you do, and then we can get right started.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Hope Giselle. I am an author, activist, advocate, all of the things to do with the arts, super sex positive, queer, pansexual, black trans woman. Okay. I know that was a lot to take in, but I am all of those things at one time. So I never want people to reduce me to one or the other. So
Period.
that's me in a nutshell.
I think it's very interesting before we get started. I always tell people that I think that friends, even though you don't realize it, just have a lot of the same identifications of you. Like I'm pansexual, you're pansexual. Like I'm queer, you're queer. I feel like there's
Right.
so many things that are nuances in identity that people connect with without even really knowing, without even like tuning into the fact that you're following and finding your crowd and your people and your community without really thinking about it. Same socioeconomic status, same identity of where you guys grew up, probably same type of position in life, like same, first child or middle child or what have you. Like there's so many things that connect, and it's so
Facts.
nuanced. So it's just so funny that in this day and age, and we're both, 30 years old, we're getting into our grown woman shit, and we have a lot of the same identities that we don't necessarily knew that we had when we were 14, 15 years old, you know.
Right. Facts.
So yes, let's get started with the first question. And what is your relationship to sex?
Um, it's an interesting one. And I think interesting more so in a newfound way, just because last year I had gender confirmation surgery. And so I had to refigure out where sex like fit into my life and how I enjoyed it and what made me tick. Because it's just like when you have a whole new body part to figure out, you can't like have the same relationship as you used to. So I think that right now on a path of like new self discovery of like what is sex? Like me take like what makes me feel good? What do I like and what do I not like? And it's just been really interesting going down that road like this year because my anniversary is
Oh my
actually
God,
today.
happy anniversary!
Yeah. So last year this time I was on somebody's table for 8 hours making that happen. So that's actually it's weird that we're doing this. See, but everything happens for a reason. We weren't supposed to do this last week for a reason. So yeah, But yeah, that's my new relationship to sex, is that I'm just figuring it out again,
Hmm.
figuring it out.
What would you say hmm, are the things that you're most excited to finding with your new set body, your new set boundaries, the things that you know that you already like, all the things that you're trying to discover that you do like now? What is most exciting for you?
Orgasms are exciting for me right now. Trying to find out how to get to them, figuring out the fastest way, figuring out the ways that are longer but still fulfilling for me. Like all of the things. Like I feel like orgasms right now are my bread and butter, because I feel I spent like a good like 6 months on like newfound pleasures. Like, where do I, like, how do I find out that I'm aroused? When do I know that I'm aroused? And now that I got like all of the how I know and when I know out of the way, I'm more so in a space of like, okay, so how do I then enjoy the orgasms, and how do I get to them
Mm-hmm.
more frequently by
Hmm.
myself and with my partner?
What would you say are the key factors in knowing your arousal? Because I know you're still looking for orgasm, but what is it, more of a body thing? Is it more of a concentrated thing on genitalia? Is it more like mind stimulation? Like, where do you get some of this arousal from with the change?
It's mental. It is all mental now. Before, I could say that like there were some physical attributes to it, but now, if my mind ain't there, my body does not react. If my mind does not also think that you're attractive, there's no amount of I'm horny right now that my body gonna be able to do to
Mm-hmm.
overpower my mind to think that it's okay. Like, once we've decided that we're not up here, like the body's just like, okay, so we're not gonna waste our energy, we're not gonna waste our lubrication, we're just not gonna do that today. And I like that. I honestly like that. I was telling a couple of my hopefuls not too long ago on my back channel that it feels so good to not like feel like policed by your parts. And I know for a lot of folks that are like a fab, or you were born, female at birth, y'all don't understand what it's like to be like policed by your parts. So it's like when you're not necessarily like in the mood to have sex, but there's this phallus that does what it wants to do no matter how the wind blows. Sometimes it's really hard to tell your partner that you're not in the mood, right? It's very hard to like convince somebody that you don't want to do something when there's an actual piece of you that's supposed to indicate that you do want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
making the decision for you. And so now I think that like I'm really happy that I get to, one, hold myself accountable for being honest about how I'm feeling and not just allowing somebody to make me feel like, it's whatever they want to do. And two, for being in a space where now I get to dictate it, because you don't really know what's happening. You don't know if I'm wet. You don't know if the blood is flowing to that area, but I do. And so I get to tell you if I'm into this right now, versus you going off of a piece of my body that I may or may not be aligned with in the moment. So that's the thing that I
I
definitely
love that.
appreciate
I think
right
that is
now.
so much of a confirmation for the fact that you are this woman, and so many women can resonate with that. Like, so many women can resonate with the fact that people have been trying to tell us what we want, what we like, and how our body's supposed to feel for a very long time. It's something that is one of the main things that pigeonholes us into succumbing to a lot of coercion, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and people choosing to take our
Yes.
bodies and doing what they will with it because they think that they know best. And
Yes.
affirming that you are your own woman who knows your own self is just, it's crazy, because I think that that particular perspective is not even something that a lot of women choose for themselves to empower themselves in their choice, and it's so important. It's so important.
Definitely. I think that like the very first time that like my fiance asked me like, do you want to? like after I had surgery, I was like, oh, wait a minute, because he really doesn't know. Like now he has to weigh, like, like he can't make a move based off of what he thinks he sees or what he thinks he feels. It's just like he gotta ask, like he gotta, like there's a little bit more that goes into it. And that freedom was so different for me. Like having to like navigate the conversation and like
Mhm.
ask myself, like, do you want to have sex right now? Like, are you in the mood? Like, do we feel like it? Like, I really enjoy being able to like really check in with myself before a sexual encounter takes place now. And that's something that's
Yes,
been really
there
exciting for
is
me too.
a, let me see, there is a book that you just triggered in my mind. I actually read it because I just wanted to get like a head start on taking the Atlanta School of Tantra and Divine Sexuality course materials that's necessary. Shout out to Amina Peterson. I also saw Taomi in the chat. I don't know if she's still here, but hey, girl. And I saw my
Hey,
friend Shan.
Naomi.
So greetings, everybody. So happy to see you guys here. But I wanted to look to see if I can find it because that book was one of the things that talks about the different parts of the body, different parts of arousal, difference between arousal and the differences between arousal and orgasm, and what type of orgasms you can have, all different types, where you can find it, where you can navigate it, how you can navigate the body to find it, how you can find it in the female form body and the male form body, and whether it's going to be anal, whether it's an A spot, whether it's the U spot, whether it's a G spot. I mean, there's so many damn spots. So like, it shows so many things. So the fact that reaching an orgasm and understanding that in your body is something that is exciting for you, I think that it's really important for you to read this book. And it's called Intimacy Educator
Okay.
by Caffeine Jesse. Amazing. I'm going to put it in the chat just so we can all
I
see.
was
Right.
gonna say I'm gonna need that.
Intimacy Educator. So I read and finished the book. Amazing. I think that every person who wants to learn more about themselves should read it. It's specifically created for people who are somatic pathologists, particularly people who are studying how to heal and be a therapist for sex. Um, but it is so helpful by navigating the differences of the anatomy of the body and what things you can do and how you can use um, sex therapy really to heal painful sex in particular and to heal trauma sex, which I feel like is a lot of people's experiences. So it's just very interesting to read something that is specifically geared towards helping you release those blockages that I feel like a lot of us have.
I feel that. I want to dig into that because especially being that that's my journey right now, I really
Mm-hmm.
want to dig more into that too.
Um, how would you describe that as being much of your experience, and what do you mean by dig in?
Okay,
What
okay,
do
wait,
you
repeat that again.
mean by it being most of your experience or a lot of your experience, and how would you like to dig more deep into that?
Oh, um, honestly, what I have been doing is I've been going to a sexual coach, um, and his name is Zur Oya, or their name is Zur Oya, and I love Zur because Zur is like really, 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 really amazing at like tapping into your sexual energy. And right now, what Zur has also been helping me like explore is what it means to take control of a new sexual energy that I did not have or that I might not have had before. And so it's very interesting, like some of the exercises that Zer has me doing, like taking hold of my own juices, things that might be really like weird if I were not like intimately seeking this experience, but because I am, like, a lot of these things are just things that I'm just like, wow, I would have never thought to like take note of how my body secretes based off of different things and what's heavier and what's lighter based off of what gets me more aroused, and what it does and what it doesn't do, and when my nipples, perk up versus when my nipples don't, and when my mind reacts to something quicker than when my body reacts to something. And so it's very like a lot of these exercises are things that I would have never thought to do on my own, just because I was like, okay, I want to have this experience. I want to deepen this experience with trying to figure out and find out, my sexual peaks and valleys. But at the same time, I want to put myself in a space where I know how to get there and how to navigate that place safely, because it's one thing to get there, it's another thing to be able to guide yourself back. And those were the things that were very important for me. So like that's some of the stuff that that Zer's been teaching me, and kind of sort of giving me like little tips and tricks here and there to like navigate my way back. And that's the most important thing, because getting there, I think sometimes you'll happen upon those experiences by accident, but it's like, okay, now how do I get back? And so to have somebody that is teaching me how to not only navigate there, but how to navigate back to it, so that those moments of pleasure can be something that I can access whenever I want to,
I
is
will
like
say
bar
that
none. Bar
to
none.
add to what you just said, and going back to this book, Intimacy Educator, I think that's probably why I love it so much. What triggered it, I now remember, is when you mentioned having your phallus have a physical reaction to something that you are not mentally ready for. And the book separates that. And I think what is very important is that it allows you to read through the section for the female body and a section for the male body, so that you are seeing these two bodies in a more educative standpoint, where you are not putting a lot of your biases of what people are doing and what you know about just getting hard into the mix of you just learning. You just learning and understanding what arousal is, what arousal in a man is, what an orgasm in a man is versus his arousal, what does that look like. The fact that someone can have blood flow to a certain section of their body that has nothing to do with their mind. So I think that getting back to where you are and how you connect those things when it comes to your mind and body, and getting more into being intentional and understanding all those things, are the only thing that's going to set you free to help you liberate yourself and find yourself.
Definitely. Definitely. A lot of like reading, a lot of internal work, a lot of help from people who are experts in the field. Like that's how I feel like I've been navigating this, just kind of sort of a little bit of everything, because I know I can't get there on my own. I don't think that there's many places that a lot of us can just get to on our own without studying. That's what I want to call it. I want to call it studying, right? Like taking inventory on your body, figuring out what your body likes, studying for the test, so that when you get to this intimate point, when someone asks you what do you like, you can actually answer that question. Like it was funny, I don't think anybody asked me what I wanted in sex until I was
Oh,
24. I had never been asked what I liked. And I was 24, like, so essentially a grown ass woman. I was 24, and this man asked me what I liked, and I had no real response other than the fact that, like, I had never really been asked up until that point what it was that I liked. I kind of sort of just like went into these moments blindfolded and was just like, I'm gonna move my hips and wiggle this way until it feels good for me, because I never thought that it was the guy's job or the person's job or the woman's job to like help me or to ask me what I needed. I was just like, we both here to figure it out, and you get yours or you don't, and that's just how this works. And so having that moment when I was 24, and kind of sort of seeing how I've been maneuvering since, and especially now when I'm on this like newfound journey, is completely different than the way that I used to navigate things, and it just feels really, really good. So like that studying, those books, those references, those like people who are like professionals in the field, all of that stuff has been working really, really
wow.
good.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. I think that it's very interesting to just think about our experiences with sex and how those things come to be, because I have always been open. For some people it could be considered wild, but I feel like I've just always been open and go with the flow. But I've also always been cautious and like in particular. And I think because I have always been cautious, which you probably
Yeah,
know well, you know me for 15 years. So you like see the people who I connect with and how I connect with them and what I'm into, what I'm not into, what I'm not going to do, what I am going to do. And it's
facts.
just some things are not going to to be with everybody or for everybody or, you know, all about everybody. It's going to be for me and by me and, you know, going to be to me in the ways that I really like it. And if it's not, I'm so slow in letting those things happen. And I think just by me discovering my body with other people in a very slow way, just because I was a virgin for a very long time and I wasn't having, that's a lie. Now, with everything that I know about sex, I know that I wasn't a virgin, but I was not having penetrative sex until the age of 21. So there's a lot of things that come with penetrative sex that I think you have to be mentally ready for, which is why I feel like penetrative sex is prematurely done at certain ages. And because I took a while to get there, it allowed me to really grow with my body in experiencing with sex. And by the time that I was having penetrative sex, I think I was put in a space where I can mentally and emotionally handle the sex I was having with the people I was having it with. I think once that happened, I was able to understand that the years that I spent doing other forms of sex played into how much confidence I was continuously growing in penetrative sex, but it took me a while and I didn't realize that. You know, I had gotten to the point where I was like, okay, I'm comfortable getting head. It's like, yeah, but now how do you feel about penis? And I'm like, this is new. I don't know what to say. I don't know what moans to make. I don't know how I'm supposed to look or act, or I don't know how to ride or do certain positions. And there's just so many things that I feel like I now have to find out that I slowly grew into, and I'm very grateful for that slow growth, you know. And I mention it because I think it's so important, like the time that we have sex is just so important. Like I feel like it's pivotal to the type of sex we have is the actual time. Um,
Oh, definitely.
so what is the biggest differences between, oh, I feel like you probably have mentioned this, but what would you say is maybe two keynotes of the biggest differences between sex you used to have in your younger years and the sex that you're having now?
Oh, child. I mean, outside of what I named already, I think the sex that I was having before was for them. The sex that I'm
Mm,
having now is for us, right? And I think that's the biggest difference. Like growing up, I was having sex in such a performative way. I wanted to look like all the girls in the videos and the movies and all of that stuff. And like I wanted to look like how they did. Like when you watched like I think one of my favorite sex scenes was in Set It Off when Jada Pinkett had sex with the bank teller for the first time, and it was that what's it gonna be that look here y'all. I thought sex was supposed to look like that was how I thought. So everybody was getting oils poured on them. Everybody was getting necklaces rubbed down their back. Child, in my mind, that's what was sex was supposed to be. And so my younger years, it was a performance. It was Beyonce, it was the Pussycat Dolls, it was Jada Pinkett, it was all of those women that I was trying to re-embody. And like you said, like, am I writing this right? Do I look like the picture? Do I look like the thing? Do I feel like my body is doing what her body was doing on the video? Um, and now it's less about like I could care less if I feel like I look great. If I
right.
make the ugly face, I don't care. If the ugly sound comes out, I don't care. I am literally just here because I want the both of us to leave with a great
Mm-hmm.
experience. And notice I said the both of us. Now it's not just about like, oh, when I was younger it was for them. Now that I'm older, it's for me. It's I want to have a shared experience with whomever I share my body with. And that experience needs to be incumbent upon what you like, what I like, and how we're both going to achieve those things before we leave this space. You know, whether that be a room, whether that be the back seat, whether that be whatever. I think that that's a thing that I'm claiming now is that also queer folks and especially black queer folks, because we're not often taught that our sex can be or should be anything less than a sneaky romp around real quick when nobody's watching, right? And so there's something about me being older now that I want to take my time. Like I want sex to be fulfilling even if it's 5 minutes. Like I want it to be a good fulfilling 5 minutes. If all you can give me is a good 20 pumps but we both get what we need out of those 20, I'm cool with that. If all I can give you is a good 17 licks, but both of us are great with those 17 licks, then I'm great with that, you know? And but I like being able to take my time, and I like being able for us to share the agreement of what we both want out of this experience so that nobody leaves feeling
Yes,
slighted, you know?
I agree. I think that some people really want to know what tips and tricks that they can learn in order to be better in the bedroom. And one of the things that I have always said is it's less about how much you know and it's more about how comfortable you are. When you are comfortable, your body learns, number one. You're going to teach yourself, number two, because you're so comfortable. You're going to go places you've never gone before. You're going to do things you've never thought that you would do before because you are comfortable. When you are comfortable, you don't think about the faces that you are making. You don't think about how your body looks. You don't think about performing. You are present.
Period.
You are feeling. And that's what comfort is. Comfort is a safe space to be present, to feel. So when we get to that point, which is one of the main things that is my goal for conversations, my goal for therapy, my goal for, teaching and showing and guiding is just that comfort level so that we can actually find out who the hell we are. Like if you've never comfortable enough to growl in bed, how do you know you don't like that? How do you know that? You have always been quiet and meek because you felt uncomfortable about saying anything in the bed. There's so much that you don't know about yourself unless you get comfortable. And I think that is, for me, if I'm talking about the sex that I have now versus sex that I have been, like, especially, leaving a partner that I had 2 years ago, but still having some of the most comfortable sex I've ever had in my life for a longevity of time that I've never experienced before, I was able to get into my body and get out of my mind. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with because they're thinking about what it's supposed to look like instead of just being in what it actually is.
Indeed.
So, do you have any kinks or fetishes? And if so, what are they?
So my one kink is adoration. I enjoy being adored. I enjoy being in spaces where people know how
Mm-hmm.
to respectfully give a compliment. That might be sexual in nature and have that be what it is. Like, and I think that a lot of us enjoy it. Like, I was watching this comedy special where one of my favorite comedians, Zaynab, she's a black female comedian, and if y'all have never heard of her, look her up. Zaynab is hilarious. But she made a joke not too long ago, and she was saying how, like, you know how you want niggas to fuck with you, but you don't want niggas to fuck with you. Like, and I was like, I understood exactly what she meant because that is my kink. Like, my kink is I want you to want me, but like know that you can't have me. And so respectfully, you say what you have to say and keep it moving. Like, but it's hard to explain that to people because like a lot of folks don't understand the dynamics of being able to express that they want something but know that they can't have that thing unless it is kink space. So in kink spaces, we understand the rules when we go into those spaces. We understand like for the most part, if it's an experienced king space, like a lot of us understand the rules. We know that consent is everything in these spaces, and so those are my kinks because I like going into those spaces where people are like, "Girl, you look so fucking great. Your titties look amazing tonight," and then they keep it moving. Or somebody buys you a drink and they're just like, "Oh my god, your fucking legs in that lingerie, girl, you are rocking it." Like, and you know that like what they're really saying is, "Bitch, I would fuck the shit out of you if you consent for me to do so." But they also understand that it's not okay to necessarily say that. So, like, I feel like that's like my biggest kink in the world. I don't really feel like I have too many more. Like there are certain things that I get into, but they're like things in the moment. But I know one thing for sure that I really, really get off on, and I know I can pinpoint it in the back of my mind is just having people pay adoration to my body, but in a way that I feel is respectful of who I am as a person and understanding of what I need as a sexual being in that particular moment. So that's
That is
my
very
number one
Leo of
kink.
you, I must say. I'm like, I'm like, that's some Leo shit right there. And why I feel like I
That
identify
is
wholeheartedly is because my Leo rising is like, that's what I like too. Like I love being watched. That's number one. So I definitely have a lot of like energy of exhibitionist vibes. Like I want you to look at me. I like when you look at me. I like being watched. One of the things that I mentioned in my other sex talk was experiencing for the first time mutual masturbation. I don't know if you've ever done it, but oh my God, it's
Ooh,
one of
yes.
the most powerful things I've ever done when I mutually masturbate with a partner and stare into their eyes. I'm like, okay, what is happening? Like, just the intensity of being watched by someone who I know is desiring me, but is not doing anything but watching me have an orgasmic experience with my own body in whatever way that is. There's just something so powerful about that. And I think that even moving through the world, like, bartend at the Marriott, and at the Marriott Marquis in downtown Atlanta. Come see me, come spend money on me. And when I was there this week, we had a bunch of people come into the hotel. It's a convention hotel. We have conventions all the time, and there was just a plethora of people who was just bigging me up and saying the sweetest things and, really liking me, like walking around watching me as I walked down the restaurant. And there was something about being the center of attention that I did not have to do the most to do, but reveled in when I received it. And it is a level of empowerment that has everything to do with receiving the energy of what you are giving me without doing anything to break down boundaries or to overcross lines or to make me feel uncomfortable. Like, I just love being watched and having compliments be said that weren't disrespectful, were very tasteful, very appreciated. It fills me up. Like, that's the type of thing that I think fill up on energetic wise in public, you know.
Facts.
So I definitely get that. I definitely get
Facts.
that.
See, I just have to say because like when you said that when you were like that's the very Leo of you. I remember. I don't know if you remember this. I think it was like my freshman year of college. I was having a really like tough time navigating, and I remember I called you and I was like, "Yana, I can't stand in here. I'm gonna kill myself." And you was like, "Bitch, calm down. You're not gonna kill yourself. You're way too vain for that shit." And I was like, "But, but facts though. But no, bitch."
Be like, well, you're right. I could look at myself in the mirror and do harm to this, but still, I was like, we know we're here. We're here with that.
We're here.
Exactly. So I definitely feel you. What do you think, speaking about Leo, do you have or have you ever experienced any myths or misconceptions about you based on your zodiac sign and or based on your personality sexually? Like what people like assume of you or have some type of myth or you overheard and it's like not true, but because of who you are in your zodiac sign or your personality, the way you present, people just assume.
It's rarely ever my zodiac because I think that most things that people say about Leos are very true, especially as it pertains to me. Like I'm not gonna be one of those people that's like, oh, I don't believe. Like I don't necessarily care as much, but I will say that the things that I read and the things that people say do tend to be on the money for me, at least. But I will say, based on my personality, folks always think that I'm way more sexual than I am. Like people think that I'm like especially like if I'm dating a person, that person thinks that like it is on and popping, like we finna be every day, every night, and that is not my vibe. I am very hot and cold. I will annoy you if you don't love me. Like that's why I say anybody who I've ever been with, like anybody who I've ever known to call a partner, I know for a fact that that person loved me because I am so finicky when it comes down to the actual like dynamics of the relationship. And when it comes down to sex specifically, I think that they always think that it's about to give, I'm gonna wear you out, and it don't give that. It does not give, it don't give that. I'm a sensualist, and I think that
Yes,
that's the thing that people read off of me. Like when I enter the
yes.
room, that energy is sensual energy. It's not sexual energy, and people always misread those two. Like I'm gonna massage, I'm gonna sensually talk, we gonna write poems and sonnets, we're gonna sext, we're gonna touch, we're gonna cuddle and rub. But I don't that sometimes is my sex. Like that sometimes is all I really needed from you. And people always misread it. People always think that I'm having way more intercourse than I'm actually having. Because also when I do, like you said, when I do have sex, it's because I'm comfortable. So when I do have sex, the stories that I do tell, when I'm licking gooch and doing all of the thing and I'm touching her twat and doing, like, I'm doing
Yeah.
those things with people because I'm comfortable. And that takes time. And a lot of people always misjudge the amount of time that it's going to take to get in my drawers. And they be so sadly
Mm.
mistaken if they don't really like
Period.
me.
Yeah. Same with me, I would say. Like, I have sex talks. I dance, I perform burlesque. Like, there's things
Right.
that I do where I'm so comfortable showing my body, people think that I am just as comfortable having it touched. And that's not the case. Or to have it freely touched as freely as I'm expressing myself. Not the case. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm open with what I consider to be an expression of who I am doesn't mean that I'm open with you touching me because you're trying to express your desires on my body. Like, that's two different things. Two different. And yeah,
That part.
it also gives to me, like, the thing about me is that because I am so picky and I do really pick and choose who it is that I have sex with in any capacity, it very much gives porn star and craziness. But then again, it's like, and it also gives it in a very alternative way because I feel like I'm a very alternative person. I think for
Right.
me, I had to ask myself a lot of questions, which I asked myself again getting into a relationship 2 years ago, and then reconfirmed the answers I already knew. Is that, like, how am I? Like, am I a single partner person? Am I a, like, monogamous person? Am I a want to do this with someone I consider a boyfriend person? Like, there's a lot of things that I was trying to figure out, and I'm not the typical person. I don't do typical things with typical people in typical ways, typical time frames. I don't have to see someone and then date them for this amount of time and then be with them like this and then call my boyfriend in order to do this thing sexually. Like, there's so many steps that just doesn't apply to me. Like, I am fully and thoroughly about feeling and presence and hedonism. Like, if it feels good and my body is screaming for it, then I give my body
Period.
what it needs. I don't think about it. I don't sit and think, oh, what are they going to think about me? But I don't care because that's what my body needs it, and my body's going to get what it needs. Like, I think being so rooted in my body, I often allow my body to take the lead, and that's why when I reject something or if I'm not privy to connecting with something, I don't even think about it. Like, I don't even try to find the answers or the reasons why. I just let my body lead in a lot of ways, and I think it allows me to find comfortable sex because when my body is leading, it's looking for comfort and safety. It's going to find it, and if I'm there when it's found, I can experience it, and it's like the best ever.
Facts. Ugh. Yeah. And that's why we here.
Right.
And that is why we're here. Cause same, same, very much so the same.
What do you think is your biggest sexual fear?
Mm,
Hmm.
being bad. Like, this is so like childish and real elementary, but like being bad at sex, like I feel like that's still my biggest sexual fear. I remember like one of my exes, the only one. See how I gotta justify it. But like one of my exes, I remember like he said that he did not enjoy my head. And I was like,
First
first of
motherfucking
all, it is giving first the motherfucking all, bitch. It is giving Gog Gog 6,000. Don't play with me. Second of all, it is giving
so
throat goat. Don't
baby.
play with me. Third of all, it is right. It go crazy. Like, don't play with me, okay? Don't play with me. Like, and
Oh
he
my
really
god.
bruised my ego with that. And so now in my mind, I'm just like, for if somebody would have ever told me like that the sex was just whack, I would be in my motherfucking field. So like that is like a big fear for me. Thankfully, my fiance don't have no complaints, and like when we do have things that like are experimental or things that he's like, oh, I saw this, I want to try this, or when it's me, like, oh, I saw that, I want to try that. Like we're both like very open because we're both comfortable. But like that used to be a big fear of mine. Like I used to be out here like, bitch, if a motherfucker say this ain't snitching back, we gotta do it again. Like, we gotta do it again. Like, cause I need all of my points when I come across the scoreboard. Like, you not finna make me feel some type of way about my sex. Like, cause I don't give it out to everybody. So when I give it to you, my nigga, you are going to act like it was the best thing you ever had. You're gonna act like I invented this shit.
You gonna think
Literally.
I think so.
Eh,
That is
period.
so interesting. I think that there's a I guess if I really think about it and hear the feedback when I ask that question, because sometimes it triggers things in me like, oh damn, yes, get that too. Like I don't think I really think about some of those things. I think that I think that has been a fear of mine, but I have seen it from a different perspective or a different angle. I think that my thing is I always want to be great at sex, but it's not as if I have a fear of being bad. Although if I want to be great, it's because I don't want to be bad, but seeing it from the perspective of it being great, I don't think that I've really felt the weight of me not doing well. I just always want to tune into the impression I'm making as a positive impression. So I often ask questions. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be like, "This good?" Like, I mean, we gonna talk about it when it's happening. Like, or if I notice that the partner that I'm doing things on is not moaning or taking a while to respond in a comfortable way when they're enjoying something, or what I'm thinking they should be enjoying, I'm like, should I stop? Or like, I don't hear you saying anything. Like, how do you like? I check in. I do a lot of check-ins. And I think that because I have normalized me talking about sex, I also normalize me talking about sex with partners who probably never talked about sex with anybody else. Like, even if it's not something that they usually do, I'm the one who usually does it with them, and it's a different experience. I've had people tell me, like, I never really talked about my sexual experiences or my sexual history, or telling a partner I'm having sex with my, whether I'm tested or not, or STD, STI, and I'm just like, okay, well, this is going to be the first one you talk to about this because I need to know. And it's something that
Period.
everybody needs to know, but it's not about everybody. It's about me and you, and this is what we're going to talk about right now. So let's talk about it.
Right.
But I think that along the lines of me conversing with my partners when sex is about to happen, I think I'm doing the same thing when sex is happening. Sometimes I stop to do a check-in, or I stop to change the position, or I stop to start something else, or I stop because it doesn't feel that good and I want it to feel better, or I know that something's going to, work well. But I think because of that, I'm able to continue and be like, okay, yeah, he said he liked it, so I'm good, I'm good. But it would really bother me if I
Mm-hmm.
spent 25 minutes on something the whole time wondering if it's a good thing to do. Like, it's not gonna work out for me. It's not gonna work. Yeah, I gotta know that
Okay.
that is good. And I like affirmations. I like partners who talk, but I don't like talking myself. Like, I'm a very primal sexual person. I like
Same.
moans and groans and grunts. I will scream. I will cry. I will like be
Yes.
very animalistic. And I don't want to say words. I don't want to have to think and speak. Like, I just want to be and act. But if my partner is speaking, I can listen very intensively. I can listen like very astutely. I know exactly what they're saying. It will turn my body on to hear them say it, but I don't want to say nothing. Like, I just don't want to say nothing.
Agreed. I have my moments. Like sometimes I'm a talker. Sometimes I know it's like shut up. But other times, like most times, I like to listen. That's like the one, especially like when you like are having sex with male body people. Like some guys, that's the biggest turn off is when you a guy who wants to play hard in the bed and you want to act like, oh, you don't make no noise. I need you to know that it's okay for you to sound like a lemur in here because I need affirmation. Like, I need you to act like I'm doing something to you, okay? And so whatever sounds you make shall not leave this room unless the neighbors hear it across the hall in 204. But when you in here, this is a safe space, and you gonna act as such, goddamn it, because I need to know what's happening. Because I'm gonna definitely do the same thing for you, like not in the same way,
Yeah.
but you're gonna know that I'm enjoying it. Trust me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Definitely.
feel that.
Definitely. Definitely. Do you think that your sexual fear has ever sabotaged the sexual experience you've had?
No, like no. I think if anything, it's made me a lot more aware of paying attention and asking those questions before we get down, so that I kind of know I'm setting myself up for success. But I don't think that it's ever crippled me in a way where I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna do this. Like, I think I'm too much of that sensualist portion of me when it does want sex. Like, because my stuff usually starts with like the massage and those other things, I think that I kind of worked whatever little nerves I
Yes.
might have off before I even get to the part about the sex. So I think I'm really, really good at like not having the fear over, whatever. It's always in the back of my mind, ooh, I wonder if he really like this. Ooh, I wonder if she really feel what I'm doing right now. It's always a thing in the back of my mind, but like it doesn't cripple me so much so that I
Right.
can't just perform at
Speak
all.
to how sensuality sets you up to be more present to move you into the sexual experience.
Ooh, like honestly, I think that people receive sensuality as the gateway drug, if you will, to sex. And so because people perceive it that way, it sets you up so like I feel like it sets you up for a really smooth transition, because nobody has to play the like, what are we gonna do, what are we ain't like the expectation is sex after this sensual act, right? And so if I shut it down, that's more so of the thing that comes as a surprise. So when I don't shut it down after the sensuality, we're just in the space where we're like, okay, so we gonna move through this euphoria together. We gonna double dutch it, cool, right? Like, and I think that that's always been really great for me, because it puts me in this like mind frame where I'm like, okay, so I've done this. I've seen how the body reacts on this portion when I touch this portion of the body. I've seen how the body moves when I touch that portion of the body. I know what this is like when I blow on this thing over here. When I lick this, they like that, And so in my sensuality, I've been taking notes if that's where I want to go. And so by the time we get right, look, like I'm over here notating. I'm like, okay, so
Nipples.
nipples are a go. All right. All right, the back of the kneecap is a no-go. We didn't get any reaction from the back of the kneecap. We're going to leave the back of the kneecap alone, and so I'm taking the notes, and I feel like by the time I'm done with all of my sensual stuff, if that's where we're going, I am so well prepared that like I'm even more confident in those arenas, like when it's not just like a let's go jump right into sex. Like
Right.
obviously with my fiance, I know his thing, so I don't necessarily always need the sensual portion before we go in there. But sometimes it's great. Like I'll try new shit, and like he'll be like, "Oh, okay, this is nice. We're here now," So those are new things that I learned. But I think that sensuality and like being a sensualist really helps me prepare for sex, and it also helps you, like if you're a person like me, it helps you to take the notes that you need so that all of your fears and like whatever little like nerves you have, you can kind of shake them, because you can kind of like test things out on your way through the sensuality if you're worried that your
I
partner may
love
or may not
that,
like
and I love
something.
that you mentioned that because I think that people are always trying to figure out what they can do to feel better, what they can do to feel better with somebody else, what they can do to feel better with somebody else when they are particularly having sex or want to have sex, and that is a perfect thing to do. Like when you are tuning in, when you are taking notes, and when you are being present. But how do I do that? By doing sensual things beforehand. It's like so important to mention. I always talk about sensuality, and I always talk about how much of a sensual erotic I am, and an energetic erotic that I am, and how the energy for me is just pops here, and it's the only thing that's going to connect us two, and then everything comes second. I think that it's important to also like give actual examples of what that looks like with people because so many people just don't understand. Mm-hmm.
I feel that.
So What hmm, what are some ways that you incorporate your sensuality in your work, if you do at all?
Oh, I do all the time. Like, I feel like there's I feel like there's a bunch of things that I like throw in there, like the way that I dress, the way that like I speak sometimes. Because I know I have a good like sexy voice. I know that I have a good like captivating little sexy voice. And so there are times like when I'm speaking to a group of men that I will use that sexy voice in order to get my point across because
Mm-hmm.
I know that they wouldn't listen otherwise. So like sometimes people think that it's like, oh, you're so beautiful, or you're like, no. Men are visual characters, but what a lot of people don't realize is that men are also very auditory. If a woman sounds, or if a person sounds, and they hit those pitches that work for a lot of men, that works for me. And so I think like in a lot of ways I've been able to use that for myself. Like when I'm in my speaking engagements and I'm talking to the Dallas Police Department, for instance, you know, like talking to them, I was a phone sex operator. Like I was very much so 1-800 lick this clit for them because it was like if I came in there and I spoke with my educational TED Talk voice, they were like tuned out. The second I turned into Mistress Hope, and I was just like, fellas, so let's really have a conversation about what this means to be intersectional. I really think that when we talk about DE and I, and they would lean in, like they would lean in chairs. And it's just like, I'm still talking about the same old shit, but like when you add that little voice, it's different. So like that has really, really helped me. And I think that also um my kink plays a huge part in it as well because that adoration that I get also fires me up before I get ready to speak. So I try to make sure I look nice when I go to, you know, my speaking engagements and when I'm doing my stuff so that way when those compliments flow in, I'm ready to like, it's like soon as the mic comes on, I'm ready to go. Like run me my stage because I got it now. I done got a couple compliments on my shoes. I done got somebody tell me that my brooch was cute. Like I'm ready. Like, you know, and so I think all of those things have definitely like seeped into my work and made me
I
work for the
love
better.
that. I think that I do the same thing, especially having to do things like burlesque, which is, in my opinion, all about sensuality. I think if you are not a sensual person, if you cannot tap into sensuality, then you cannot do the burlesque well, period. Like, there is something about knowing your body, feeling your body, and having other people vicariously feel your body by you feeling your body, which is something that you can only do if you're confident enough to actually feel it. Like, if you're actually able to sit inside of it and feel good in it and have that be projected, that's the only way that someone's going to catch that projection and be like, oh, okay, well, she's feeling herself and she's making me feel her too, and I think I feel like she's feeling herself, and now she's feeling other people more. Like, it's an energy exchange. It's an energy exchange, and it's something that I play into my entire life. Like, I think that it's when I learned that it's something that I love to do, it was something that I always knew that I needed in order to feel full and fulfilled. And I think that's probably why performance is my most prized expression, or my most prized sense of identity and expression. Because even when I'm speaking and performing, even when I'm dancing and performing, when I'm writing, I'm performing. Anything that I'm putting in front of eyes so that they can consume it and possibly reflect whatever it is that they receive back onto me in an energetic exchange, like that's performance for me. And it means the most for me to be able to have space to do that. So I feel the same way. I definitely got that. I feel the same way. Period. So we got about 8 minutes left. There are a good amount of people in here that could ask different questions. So if anybody has any questions and wants to ask some questions that I did not ask because I went to the bottom of my list, please do. We have a good 7 minutes to answer, 5 minutes to answer out before we do a little bit of closing, 2 minutes before we end at 9 o'clock. So if you have questions, you can type it in the chat. If you want to type it in the question box on the bottom right hand of your screen, you can see a little question mark. You can also put it in there. But let us know. Let us know what you want to know. And are there anything that's like pressing that you
Right.
are feeling? Anything that kind of triggered you in our conversation this last hour that you hadn't been asked, or was something new for you to think about?
I was gonna say, be nosy. Be nosy for the next 6 minutes. Be nosy.
How
How does HRT enhance and impact sexuality? I'm gonna tell you now, it does the exact opposite. And especially for trans girls, a lot of the girls who are escorts or sex workers will tell you that
could you
HRT will
explain
kill
what
a career.
HRT is for people who don't know?
So HRT is hormone replacement therapy, and it's something that trans people go through in many different ways. And so I don't want to get into the minutia of how many different ways you can, but just know that most trans people opt to do hormone replacement therapy in order to help their transition. But what some of the side effects of that for trans women specifically, or trans femmes, is that it lowers your libido. And so I don't know if HRT enhanced anything, because my libido was already kind of doing what it was doing. And then when HRT started to happen, my need for like sexual intercourse and like being entered and having somebody inside me was like, it went from like maybe 80% to like a good 60-40, somewhere up in that range, depending on the day. So I would not depend on HRT to like get you all riled up. I think that that's going to be more of a spiritual practice, more of like an intentional setting, sort of moment. But I do not think that, at least not for trans femmes, that HRT is going to help in that department.
Good to know.
At all. Like, just so we're clear, like, now trans masculine folk have a better, um they have a better, little program going on over there, because that testosterone gets a lot of them all riled up and ready to go. Okay, but like for us, the estrogen like really starts to, if you're on a testosterone suppressant, like that's the thing that makes your body do all the things that you're used to doing. And so if you start suppressing that, there might be an issue about it. Hope, are you more aware or nervous having sex with women than men? I am more aware, and I'm so glad that somebody asked this question. I am more aware and nervous to have sex with women, and not for the reason that y'all think. I'm more aware and nervous because a lot of women I found will use trans women who are pre-op because they want an organic strap. That's my little name for it. And instead of calling it, the other thing, I say it's an organic strap. And so my, like, in my, I guess, my ganders around the vulva, I have had some experiences where I felt like I was being used for my body part and not necessarily appreciated for the person that I am. And this has happened a lot with like women. And so I was a lot more nervous, and I'm always a lot more aware when I move with women's spaces, because I want to make sure that you like me and not that you're just trying to have the best of both worlds, Hannah Montana style, for your own sexual game. Like that's just not where I'm definitely not in that space. So I will definitely say more aware and more nervous with women, just because. And then on top of that, a lot of women don't think that they can commit like sexual assault and sexual abuse because they're women,
Yes.
and that's a thing that we have to do away with as well. So I'm real cautious with certain women.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. I think that even when it comes to engaging in certain touching or feeling of the body, if you're out in a club and you're dancing and someone comes and slaps you on the butt, it's very normalized for women to do that to other women. I personally don't want you touching me if I don't know you. And that's just that on that. Now, there is a level of women camaraderie that I have where there are certain things that we do experience together, and there are certain things that are waived in a sense because we do have experiences together, we do things together, we understand things together. But when it comes to the violation of bodies, women can
Right.
very much do that. And it really bothers me when women feel like they can't, to your point, and it really bothers me when women do it and they have no sense of self about how they are impacting someone else's body. If it comes between you and someone else's body, there needs to be a separation, period. Like, I don't care what you're doing to it. I don't care if you're bigging it up, if you're just, like, letting her know that you like it. I don't care what it is. There needs to be a separation, and there needs to be consent behind that. Like, you can be like, if you want to, you know, if she looks like she's someone who doesn't mind getting slapped on the butt when she's shaking her ass in the club, like, sure, that's fine. But for me personally, I hit people on the side of the side. I'll be like, girl, go girl. And I do it a little bit, and then I stop. Like, there are certain things that I do where I'm feeding into the energy of what the experience actually is, but I am completely and totally respecting the body that is doing it. Like, I'm never overstepping the bounds. Like, it bothers me when that happens. There was a video that went viral. This was years ago. This was like 6 years ago, where you see this girl, she's up on a chair and she's shaking her butt, and there's a girl who comes by and she's like, and starts like touching her butt and shaking her butt. The girl climbs down off of the chair, turns around, punches the girl in the face, and starts dragging her. And her boyfriend's like, babe, but it's like, somebody will probably think that that was wrong because she's just touching the girl's butt. But that's exactly it. You can't just touch people's bodies and expect them to allow what is happening, number one, or accept what's happening, number two, or have you think that it's okay, number three, because it's not. And I feel like we all need to be more aware when women are engaging with other women and it comes to their bodies.
Totally agree, 110%. Because that behavior is normalized, and I've even had to stop myself because I'm a hype woman. When we in the club, when we out, you know, like, especially our group, like, we're so loving with people. Like, if we see a person having a good time, we go over, we like, yeah, get that shit, get that. But I learned, like, you got to keep your hands to yourself, because you don't know if that person is comfortable or confident enough to be having people do that. Now, it's a difference if that's the energy that they're giving off, you know what I'm saying? Then it's like, okay, but at the same time, like, I'm always like, let me feel the energy of this room, let me feel the energy of this crew, who she with, you know, and then I'll decide. And then I'm still gonna ask, like, girl, it's okay, like, because I don't want no smoke, you know. But we live in a culture where, like, you can't be upset when you over access somebody's body and then they recorrect your ass because they didn't appreciate it, you know. And I'm very glad that somebody asked that question, because that was like, I think that was a really great question to, like, walk us out, because access is still consent based, no matter whether you at the club turning up or you're in the bed with your loved one. Like, you still need to ask for access and consent to somebody's body. It don't matter what the circumstances, because you don't know people. So don't just be touching people.
And what if that person was assaulted in the same way that you are now touching them? People being triggered, people turning around and reacting emotionally off of something that their body is now rejecting because you had no idea. You have to just be aware. You just have to be aware.
Fact.
And with that, we are coming to a close. I want you to let the people know again who you are, anything you have coming up, going on, ways that we can support you, things that we can do to feed into your work, your brand, and what have you. Let us know.
So my name is Hope Giselle. I'm an author, activist, artist, all of those dope ass things, Black, trans, a woman, pansexual, all of the things, all of that good jazz. And tomorrow on Tuesday, I am making history as the first Black trans woman, the first openly Black trans woman to be invited to speak and host a talkback / learning conversation at NASA. And I'm really excited and nervous about it. Y'all can't watch, but y'all can send me good vibes on Tuesday. So I'm really excited about that. I have a couple of, like, speaking engagements at some different universities. And then I have some merchandise over on my website at functionalmisfits.com. So if you want to get a little bit of merch, functionalmisfit.com is where my merch is. I also have 2 books that are available on Amazon. Wherever my books are sold, they are available. And all of those things can be found in the links that are in my bio. So if you missed it, if you're like, oh my gosh, she's talking too fast, you can just go to the link in my bio and click on those things and just go through those things. And if you want to know a little bit more about me, just type my name into the Google and girl, she pops up. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm super happy and super grateful to be able to have this conversation. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah. So all the things I will definitely note all of Hope's things in both the caption on Instagram, in the caption on the audio podcast I will be posting, and the caption on YouTube. So if you did happen to miss it, and if you happen to not go to her page and happen to not go to her link in her bio, it will be in the caption. So you will find it there. I am IYANNA the model, performance artist, muse, speaker, and recent filmmaker. I do all things noted and progressive and performance and showing the body in the best light in the healthiest way it can be. I am a healthy relationship advocate. I love connections and seeing how people connect, why people connect, and what keeps people together. So continue to follow my journey if you wish to see the conversations with more people. We have a whole lineup for February already set for Sex Talk. I will be posting that soon. We have wonderful Taomi. We have Miss Foxy Lexi in Montreal, Canada. And we have my girl Blue Pearl, who's my burlesque sister here in Atlanta. I'm so excited to get next month started. And I'm so happy that I was able to talk to you today. Bestie of 15 years. I'm just really proud of you. I'm giving you your flowers because you are amazing. You've been doing amazing, and I love the progression and where you are in your life. I love where you are going. I love that you are breaking records. I love that you are setting trends. I love that you are taking names and asking questions later. I just love it for you, and I can't wait to see you soon. It's been fun.
I love you too, and I'm giving them flowers right back to you, and I cannot wait to see you. I'm going to be in Atlanta soon, so we will definitely see each other
And
soon.
with that, we'll come to a close. I love you.
Love you. Bye, y'all.